is Gamer Si with another video. Now recently I was able to pick up this little beauty. This is the Neo Geo CD. As you can see, this is the front loading version. Quite the rarity, only released in Japan, and only about 25,000 of them made. Has a bit of a reputation for being unreliable, however this one works great. It's quite a large machine, as you can see. It's a very nice nick. It does have composite outputs, although I have bought an RGB cable which gives a much nicer picture. Now, this isn't my only Neo Geo CD, because last year I did manage to get the more common top loading model. Like that. Now, other than the looks and apparently reliability, they are basically identical in function. Top loader is a little bit smaller than the front loader, though not by a great deal. For comparison, there's a PlayStation 1. I guess the PlayStation 1 was the smaller one. Now, the first thing everyone will be thinking of with the Neo Geo CD is, oh, but what about them load times? And that's what it's notorious for. It's notorious for, well, firstly being expensive, but secondly having horrendous load times on its games. Games can take anywhere from 30 seconds to a couple of minutes, it seems, to load up, and it puts a lot of people off buying these. So what I'm going to do, I've taken three different games, three different styles, and let's see how long it takes to load each bit. We're going to have a look at the load from cold boot to the title screen, into the game, and then the load between levels. I have three games we're going to check. Three games are to give us different things. Standard fighter, which is Fatal Fury 3. Team-based fighter, which the Neo Geo is famous for, of course, with the King of Fighters series. So it has a lot more loading to do because it has 3 fighters per side. And a non-fighting game, I've gone for Sonic Wings 2, which is an absolutely excellent vertical shmup. So let's have a look how long this takes. Alright, here we go with the first game. First one being Fatal Fury 3. Starts off with a pretty significant load time. A little cartoon Mai and a cat or something to keep you amused. No jokes about Mai's pussy, please. Or a fan. Right, and there that brings us to the main screen. So, game start. No, I won't data load. Fight Bob. Back to another loading screen. See, this takes a little while. So at this point I can see why people would say, yeah, the Neo Geo CD has too much loading. This is a lot of loading. Although if you compare it to a disc-based system, an earlier disc-based system of the time, like certain PS1 games, it's only slightly worse, and gotta bear in mind this system does predate the PS1. Anyway, we're just about up there. Right, here we go. So, talking bollocks to each other in Japanese, and then we'll have a fight. What do you feel Fury 3 does this watch little blackout thing just before each match starts? Watch. There. Don't know why it does that. So I'll make no apologies for my ineptitude at this game. Never been the best of Fatal Fury, although I do like this one. Little blackout at the end of each level as well. Do you notice that? No idea what that's all about. No idea at all. Here we go again. I suppose at least it doesn't have to load between rounds. I do have to also point out that the Neo Geo CD can look a lot better than this. To be able to record this, I had to run it through regular composite cables into my Elgato, which isn't giving the best picture. I have proper RGB cables which through a decent CRT look absolutely beautiful. This doesn't look bad, but it doesn't look as good as it can. So, third round. Of the worst display of Fatal Fury in the history of YouTube. And I managed to fluke a win. So, victory speech. And then it goes back to the loading screen. Right, back to the next game. Game number 2. This is Sonic Wings 2, otherwise known in the West as Aero Fighters 2. Absolutely top-notch vertical shooter. As usual, we start off with a hefty loading time, with some kind of rabbit egg thing in the middle. I'm sure somebody knows what that is. I don't think it appears in the game. But love this game. Previously I've bought this game for the MVS Neo Geo arcade system. It's very underrated. A lot of people talk about vertical shooters and I never hear this one mentioned particularly. I particularly like it. If you like Strikers games, if you like the 1945, 1942 and 43 and all those other shooty, war-y plane games rather than spaceships, then like this, it's got all sorts of fighter planes with mechs and guns and bullets and all sorts. So anyway, here we go. So now the loading's over. Now, I'm not great at this either. I'm probably better at this than I am at Fatal Fury though. Now, as you notice, once you pick your pilot, yep, the next loading screen is mere seconds. And we're off. So as you can see, great game, loads of action. This is just the first level. It's 2-player co-op as you would expect. Lots of nice end of level bosses like this. So right, that's the boss dead. End of level 1. Back to the load, but it's a very quick one. There we go. We'll go to victory chat in Chinese. Japanese, sorry. Chinese, what I'm on about. And straight into the next stage. Very little loading in this game at all. Maybe it's a minute of initial load at the beginning of the CD, but otherwise very little at all. Absolutely great. Get this game either for Neo Geo. Right, and here we go. This is going to be the final game of this demonstration. This is the King of Fighters 95. Now, a lot of the King of Fighters games are on the Neo Geo CD. There's at least 94 to 98. There may be more, I haven't really checked. The King of Fighters games I absolutely adore. Some of the best fighters out there. I only recently bought the very newest one on PlayStation 4. And I have pretty much everyone in between. Now, Neo Geo fans will always go for the King of Fighters games. They are still competitively played today. So it's a little bit of a shame that this is really where the Neo Geo CD does start to show the problems with its loading times. See, because the thing with the King of Fighters is the idea you pick 3 players per side and you go through them all. Now, the game does give you the option of just playing 1 player per side, but really that's not King of Fighters. And unfortunately, it needs to load every single one individually. So we're finally loaded. So, team play. I'll say that's what King of Fighters is all about. So my usual team of Terry, Keo and Mai. But now we're back into another loading screen. In your own time, Neo. Off we go. So there we go, round 1 over. Back to a loading screen. To be fair, these loading screens aren't quite as long, as you can see. It just breaks up the flow of the game. But because I didn't have much life left, now I'm down. Back to a loading screen. That's round 3. Be a lot of rounds in a King of Fighters game. Back to a loading screen. Now we go. So, as you can see, games like the King of Fighters series, which involve multi-loads, do impact quite a bit on the flow of a game. Is it enough to say, don't get a Neo Geo CD? Absolutely not. I think it's a great system to collect for. It's not as cheap as people make out. Some games are. These ones I've shown you today are all available for between £10 and £20, which is a lot less than other Neo Geo systems. However, compared to the MVS, some of its games are more expensive. The Metal Slugs, for example, seem to be more expensive on the CD than they are on the MVS system. Pretty much everything is cheaper than the AES system, but that's a given. So, in the end, do the load times kill it? No, but be aware that they're there. If you're old school like me and you grew up playing with the floppy disks on an Amiga, for example, the load times aren't as bad as that. And if you go back to the 8-bit days, my first system was an Amstrad. We used to play Amstrad Spectrum, Commodore 64. Obviously, if you grew up with tapes, then these load times are absolutely nothing. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you decide to get yourself a Neo Geo of one version or the other, because whichever one you pick, it's absolutely timeless system. But anyway, I've been Gamer Si. Keep it hard.